In this lesson we are going to learn about box plots and the 5-number summary. So the first thing you have to know about the 5-number summary is that you have to arrange your list from smallest to largest first. So that's the first thing you should do anytime you're doing a 5-number summary. To find the minimum, that's your smallest number. Q1 is the same as what we found last lesson, so it's the median of the lower half. The median is the middle number, which you might need to average, so the 50th percentile. Q3 is the median of the upper half, and then the maximum is the biggest number. So those are the 5 numbers that are part of the 5-number summary: the minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. A box plot we haven't made yet, but that's a graph of the 5-number summary. It is less detailed than a histogram or a stem plot, but it's useful when comparing more than one distribution. So when we're looking at 2 different things next to each other, a box plot is very helpful to kind of get a quick picture of it. We're going to first find the 5-number summary for Babe Ruth. This is what we did in our last lesson. We have to again order these from least to greatest, so I'm going to do that over here. I've got 2, 3, 4, 6. I remember doing this last lesson. And in the teens I have an 11. And then the 20s I've got 22, 25, 29. Is that my last 20? Yep. And then I go to my 30s, I've got 35 and 34. So 34, 35, and then I go to my 40s, 41, 41. I'm just going to bring this up here. 3 46s and a 47. 1, 2, 3, 47, and then I have a 49. And then I go with 54, 54, 59, and 60. And if you remember from our last lesson, we had 21 of these. And if you count here, I have 21 values, so I got them all. So now to do the 5-number summary, we're going to do a minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum. So my minimum is 2. My maximum is 60. Those are pretty easy to plug in, aren't they? And then to find Q1, let's do median first. The middle of, if I have 21 total, my middle is the 11th number, right? So my 11th number is right here. It's 41. So to find the median of my lower half, that'd be the middle of these numbers right here. That would be my 5th and 6th numbers. So it looks like, sometimes people will do like a cross-out method like this to help them find that. That might be useful for some of you. But it's right here. I take 11 plus 21 divided by 2, so that'd be 32 divided by 2, 22, how about, sorry, 33 divided by 2, which gives me 16.5. And you might be remembering these numbers from our last lesson, because that's what we found. And then my Q3 will be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right here. And the middle of those 2 numbers, hopefully you can just figure out, is 48. So there's my 5-number summary for Babe Ruth. So now we're going to actually use that data to graph this. So remember, I'm going to transfer it to this part here. So my min was 2, 16.5, 41, 48, and 60. Sorry, I'm just going to transfer this. It's on a different slide for me. You guys have this. So to do a box plot, I'm just going to say, here's my number line. And we're going to label this Babe Ruth's home runs. And then I'm going to say, okay, here's my 0, and I'm going to go to, let's say, 70. We'll go a little bit above. So I will mark off every 10 to start, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So these are my 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and then I'm just going to mark off 5 spots so I can kind of see. I'm not going to label them on my graph, but I just want them marked here so I can kind of tell. Ideally, you want to have this set on a computer where it's labeled and the intervals are perfect. You know, by hand it's not as perfect. So to do my box plot, I start with my minimum. I would do it differently if I had outliers, and so I don't know if you remember this from our last lesson, but we have the range. I don't know what happened to this stuff. This needs some space here, but I'm not going to mess with it now. Our range was 58. I'm just going to list these here. Q1, 16.5. We already found these last lesson. Our spread was 2 to 60. Our Q3 was 48. Our median was 41. Our IQR was 31.5. Our shape we said was, I believe we said it was symmetric last lesson. And then our outliers we found none. So this is just my data from our last lesson we did together. That's where this is coming from. Okay. So since I have no outliers, my minimum for Babe Ruth is at 2. So I'm going to draw a line at like 2 right here. That's my minimum. And then I'm doing my box plot right now. Then my Q1 is where my box starts. So my Q1 is 16.5. So I'm going to say it's like right about here. And then Q3 is the end of my box. So that's at 48. So we'll say that's right about, let's say here. I'm going to draw a box. So my box is connecting Q1 and Q3. Now my minimum, I draw a line out to my minimum. So here's my minimum. Remember this is 2. Q1 is 16.5 and Q3 is 48. My median is a line that's drawn in the box. So my median was 41. And then my maximum is 60. Now, based on this data, when I look at this, I don't think this looks symmetrical. A symmetrical box is like this, or close to that. The median's in the middle. So I'm actually going to change what we said our answer was in yesterday's notes from when you look at the box plot. I don't think the shape looks symmetric. I'm going to say that this shape looks skewed left. So skewed left, how you can tell that from a box plot is when you have more over on the left-hand side, it's skewed left. That's how you know. So the right side is shorter of the box. So that's a skewed left data there. And that would be how I make a box plot. I shouldn't label my maximum here. I didn't do that. We'll say our max. And that's 60. And I would like you to label the points on your box plot. They're not always done that way, but we're going to get in the practice of doing that. So you should have these labels on there at all times. So now we're going to show just different box plots because you maybe haven't seen those. A symmetrical box plot would be one where the min and max look about the same distance from the box and the median's in the middle. A skewed left one we just did, and that's an example of that would be something like this where there's a lot on the left and even that max might be a little bit smaller. You'll notice that a lot in the skewed left. So skewed right would be the opposite. This is going to have a little bit more here, and then I'm going to have the line maybe more here. So that's an example of skewed right. And then a box that has outliers, depending on how you graph it. You sometimes will see it like this, and it might have some skewness. I'll put it about in the middle. And they'll have like a line like that. We actually are going to use, when we do it on our calculator, we're going to use our outliers as dots. So ours would be more like the same. And then it's actually going to not count the outliers as our maximum. And then you'd have dots where those outliers occur, however many there would be. And that's the one we're going to choose to use on our calculator when we learn that also. So that's what those look like. So if you get confused on what a skewed left or skewed right box plot looks like, make sure you go back to your notes because you have that example in there. So now we're going to learn how to use our calculator for this. So to do a 5-number summary, it's listed here. So I'm just going to demonstrate. You have this in your notes, so I'm going to demonstrate on my calculator. The first thing I want you to do, though, is turn your you'll notice at the bottom of this list it has 2 asterisks. It says the first time you do this, you may need to turn the diagnostics on to your 5-number. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You would hit Second, Catalog, and then we have to go down to the D. So this is going to take a long time on my calculator up here. But you need to go all the way down to Diagnostic. Might want to fast forward me here because this is going to take forever. At least it feels like forever. I tried to go with my alpha D and it didn't work when I was doing this before. So we're almost there. Diagnostic, I'm looking for D-I-A. D-I. There we go. That's diagnostic off. We want our diagnostic on. So on diagnostic on, you hit enter, and then you hit enter one more time and it'll be done, and now it's going to work forever. So you won't have to do this again, but for those of you who have not used your calculator for statistics stuff before, you will need to do that. So now I'm going to go and I'm just going to enter our data for Babe Ruth because we're going to do Babe Ruth's 5-number summary. So you go to Stat, Edit, and we're going to edit List 1. I have a lot of stuff in mind from AP Stats in here, so to clear these out, I go up and highlight L2 and I hit Clear, Enter. So if you have any stuff in yours, you go up and hit clear, enter. I'm going to go over to L1, clear, enter. If you don't have L1 and L2 as your first list, bring me your calculator tomorrow and I will fix that. Sometimes the lists get deleted, which is going to cause you problems, so make sure you have me fix that for you. So now I'm going to enter Babe Ruth's data in my list, and I don't have to list it least to greatest. So I'm going to go 3 or 4, enter, 3, enter, 2, enter. That's what's really nice about doing this on your calculator. You don't have to go least to greatest. It does it for you. So hopefully I'm not making any mistakes as I punch this in. Normally I have a class here to yell at me if I do it wrong, but you guys won't probably be able to do that, huh? So keep going, enter all that data in. I feel pretty good that that was my 21st number, so I didn't miss any. So now, once you get that data entered, I'm going to go and I'm going to hit Stat, and then I'm going to calculate, and I'm going to calculate one variable statistic. So I'm going to go to that top number, 1 var stats, and I hit Enter. And then I hit Enter one more time. This is where I'd have to put list 1 if I was using other lists. So if you have like a list 4, you put yours in, you'd have to go second 4, so you have list 4 listed there. So what this actually tells me here is some useful data that we're going to get into as we keep going. That X bar you see is actually my sample mean. That 34 is my mean, which we're not looking for. The summation of X is the sum of my X values. Summation squared is squaring them. The SX is my standard deviation, which we're going to learn about later. The theta X is something we don't learn about in this class, so you won't have to worry about that 18.8 number. And then N equals 21. None of this is my 5-number summary though, right? So you have to go down to find it. When you push down, look at that. 5-number summary is all listed there. Minimum X is 2, Q1 is 16.5, median 41, Q3 48, and max is 60. That matches what I got by hand, but so much quicker, right? So as long as you understand where those numbers come from, using your calculator is really useful for this. So you'll see there's a spot in your notes to actually find the 5-number summary from your calculator, so you can put that in. There would be no work needed for this because you did it all in your calculator. But I want you to notice that we got the exact same answers on our calculator as we did by hand. And if you didn't get the exact same answers, you probably punched a number in wrong, so go back and look at your list. Make sure you keep track of where these notes are because you probably won't remember how to enter this data the first time you've learned it. So you're going to have to look back at that every time you enter data. So there is our notes on box plots and a 5-number summary. You will have a worksheet tomorrow and some objectives, and please let me know if you have any questions.